Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Praveen, you can start. You can continue with your slides on
Yeah, sure.
SDG 7. Thank you.
Yeah, just let me know if I can share my
Uh,
screen, but
I
somebody has
I
to
make
make
you
me
host. I make
host.
you host. Okay, you're host now.
Okay, okay. Yep, I can do that. And let me know once you can see my screen, Esther.
Yes, yes. You're visible and
You can see my
audible.
screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So quickly moving on to the third sub target of SDG goal 7 of affordable and clean energy to everyone, which is, by 2030, double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency. So what does it mean? It's quite complex statement itself. It means we need to improve the way we generate energy, transmit the energy to transmissions line, the way we store the energy, the we manage our energy, how we can improve the efficiency, and also at the same time how we can lower the carbon emission. So that's the purpose, and how much value we generate from the each unit of energy which we produce or consume. And there is a very interesting ratio which defined by the International Energy Agency called in energy intensity, right? So energy consumed per unit to create wealth, which is also is a formula called total energy supply in a country versus, with ratio to the GDP of that country. So my voice is echoing, unfortunately. Oh, okay, now it's better. I think somebody has to go on mute. Okay, quickly moving forward. So
Yeah. Continue. Yes.
now moving on quickly. So we have a three sub target or the three elements of the target, and also we have a two means of achieving or the implementation of these target, and these are called 7.A and 7.B. 7.A is basically talking about by 2030 enhance the international cooperation to facilitate access to clean energy research and technology, including renewable energy, energy efficiency, and advanced and cleaner fossil fuel based technology, and promote investment in energy infrastructure and clean energy technology. So this was the exactly quite big sentence, but this is directly written. I picked up from the SDG goal target 7.8 text. And then quickly moving on to the another implementation mean of SDG goal 7, which is target 7.B. By 2030, expand the infrastructure. Here they mean to say energy infrastructure and upgrade the technology for supplying modern and sustainable energy services for all in developing countries. So this is a very specific emphasis they've given on developing countries, in particular least developed countries like sub-Saharan African countries, some Southeast Asian countries, and some part of Latin America, small island developing states, landlocked developing countries, in accordance with their respective programs of support. So if I just summarize quickly all about the SDG 7, which is affordable, and talk about the affordable and clean energy, and this is the shortest goal amongst all 17 and fastest, I would say, the most achieved goal till now so far by everyone. And of course, since I come from the energy sector, so I'm following very closely, and it's very close to my day-to-day work in my heart. And so the first sub target is universal energy access to everyone, and still close to 700 million people with no electricity. So when we started this journey back in 2015, even before 2 years before, it was that the number was 1 billion people on planet Earth with no electricity. At least we have managed to reduce the gap significantly, but still we are far, far ahead from the target. And 2.6 billion people with no clean cooking means of energy. And the sub target of the SDG 7 is increase the share of renewable, which is currently only 11% of the total energy mix. But when we started, it was close to 2%. So still we have made a lot of progress. But the target is to take it to the close to 80% by 2030, which is seems to be quite far right now. and also the increase the energy efficiency. So what does it mean by energy efficiency? So we are developing the, or we are generating the renewable energies, we are generating the clean energy, but how we are consuming, how much energy we are wasting. Like our, if you take the example of our daily habits in the day, if we leave lights open, bulbs open, or the lamps open, or the TV open in the bedroom, that is a wastage of energy. Can we save that kind of energy by driving the changing in the personal behavior, individual behavior? And the two means of achieving this affordable and clean energy is finance, technology. We need a lot of finances, as I mentioned, $43 billion per year investment we needed to expand the energy infrastructure, specifically the least developed countries. So this is about the SDG goal 7. Now let's talk about the summit stats. So how much we have achieved overall in terms of SDG status, which is around 15%, and told by none other than the United Nations General Secretary himself. And of course, he also said that we need a lot of support. We need to rescue the plan of rescuing, which is SDG, right? To rescue the Earth, which is through SDG goals. So now we need to rescue that plan, the plan which is rescuing the planet Earth. So should we worry? Yes. And is there any anger amongst the people? Yes. If you see the protests across the globe, people are, angry. They are coming out. They are, asking, demanding from the government and local policymakers to implement the policies which improve the clean energy use of, promote the, efficient energy across their countries. And this is a very interesting insights which I managed to get through some university research, as I mentioned earlier. So what are the key driving factor for successful implementation of all the SDG targets on planet Earth? Is 53% is contributed by the political will, 17% contributed by the corporate will, and 14% by the local communities contribution and their will, and 12% is individual behavior, like our behavior, how we are consuming energy on day-to-day basis at home or offices or restaurants. And there are other factors, unknown, uncontrollable factors, which we cannot control. So if you see, the majority of the contribution to drive these targets come from the political will, policymakers, and the corporate will, the corporate people, those who make the product and services, roughly around close to 70%. But it's a big number, right? So what is the biggest reason for not achieving the target? Let's say if we happen to meet again in 2030 and having the similar discussion what we are having right now, why we haven't achieved this target? And the biggest factor is political will and determination. So I did manage to gather some really good insights from generative AI tool ChatGPT. These are not mine. I just managed to pull out from the ChatGPT, but I managed to verify these sources of information. And the same thing which I just spoke about in terms of the gap, what we have in the target versus what we have managed to achieve till now at the, I would say, first quarter of 2024. And thank you. That's all from my side. Thanks for listening to me. I'll stop sharing.
Wow, that's really fast. We thought we can continue some more. Okay, we shall continue with some light moments, sharing and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mr. Praveen, can you please explain what is digitization?
Okay.
Yeah, what it is and what's the difference between that and digitalization? Yeah. So our
Absolutely. Very
audience
good question.
have better understanding of it.
So digitization means, it starts it the this is a fairly new word, I would say, coined somewhere around 2007 or 6, and it converted from the word called digit, the number like 01, we call it digit, and then digit to digital, and digital to digitization, it evolved. And now the next level is digital transformation, right? So digitization of any business process. Let's say we have to send, some communication to our consumers or the customer, and we send them emails, or we send them, postal letters or the greeting cards, physical letters. That's the physical paper-based process. But if you send them email, like, which is what we do right now, right, in nowadays. So that's the call of, digitization or the digitalization of manual process. So we are converting, still we are managed to achieve the target, and the purpose of the business process is sending the communication, but we are not sending the postal mails, physical greeting cards. What we are sending, the virtual greeting card and virtual form of text, which is email. So this is a very simplest example of digitization. So it is started from the digit number system 1 and 2, and eventually it evolved to the how the manual work in offices, like moving paper from one desk to another desk, how we can eliminate, how we can minimize, reduce, convert the digital version of the business processes. That's the word defined by the digitization.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Well defined. Then what's the difference between digitization and digitalization?
So once you, let's say, you convert, you capture some information or data on the piece of paper, right? That's the manual way of gathering the information, like a survey, like you conducting a survey on a pieces of paper, or reading a newspaper, a physical newspaper. And but you can read also e-newspaper, right? So converting that uh, physical form of information storage into virtual form of storage is called digitalization. But that's the process does not stop there, right? You need to digitize the accessing that digital information, that create your process digitization. And the next level is a digital transformation. So once you create the digitization, you need to optimize and streamline the business processes, right? Using by identifying the waste in the process, how we can eliminate the waste. Like there is an approval process. Somebody is going on leave, but the person has to send the leave request to their supervisor, and supervisor, let's say he himself or she himself on leave, or did not manage to check email, right? So how to avoid that uh, problems by if somebody does not approve the leave after 24 hours or 48 hours, which is a reasonable time, leave should automatically approve. This is called the digital transformation of the process, right? So removing dependency from the people and making it more automated.
Wow, wow. We have clear understanding now. I think the audience also understand. And I definitely understand it now. What's the difference? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very technical. Yeah. Dr. Rania, you want to continue to chat with
Yes,
you?
yes. Thank you, Dr. Pravina. You're a very insightful presentation. I want to ask you something. Many times there have been debates about nuclear energy and if actually thorium is considered as the future nuclear fuel. We know already that there are many countries which embrace nuclear energy as a reliable, affordable, and clean source of electricity that could play an important role in meeting the global energy and climate challenge. And if we talk about thorium, thorium offers actually many benefits, physical, chemical properties over uranium. It has a higher energy density, produces less waste, but of course it has a lot of disadvantages. So what do you think? Why it is considered as the future nuclear fuel?
So nuclear energy does not consider as a clean source of energy. It generates more efficiency in terms of forming or generating the energy, but the waste which has been created as a byproduct of generating the energy or the electricity is that is not at all auto decomposed by the nature. It is very dangerous, right? The radiation is still emit for at least, I think, 3000 years of one radium or the thorium product. So even if you generate a lot of energy at the low cost, but the byproduct or the waste which is being created through the nuclear energy is remain in the uh, system or the environment for quite long time. It does not disappear automatically, right? And yeah, so that's why, especially if you see, there is a lot of protest going on, especially if I'm talking about the United Kingdom, Great Britain, France, Germany. People are protesting, we don't want nuclear plant here. So this is all started back in 80s, and the nuclear plant moved to Japan, China, India, Latin America. And so if you see the Western world, especially the G7 countries, and we consider, maybe we are wrong, but we consider the most developed economy on planet Earth are the G7 countries, like United States, United Kingdom, Japan, France, Germany. They consider themselves as the driver of the economy in the world. and they don't want to have the, this the concept of, nuclear energy. They want, some other country to produce, but just to supply them. So I'm not sure if you know the iconic tragedy, unfortunate tragedy happened in 2011 in Japan, Fukushima.
Yes, yes.
That was, the nuclear plant got leaked, and how many species? I think more than 30,000 type of species in the neighborhood in I think 200 miles coastal radius area of Pacific Ocean, plus thousands of people got impacted through the radiation, right? So that's why people are quite afraid. It's safe, but one like Chernobyl incident, which or the accident which happened in 1980s, right? So official number was only 10,000 people, but we all know that in those days Russia was communist. There was no real number was coming out. Probably the 50,000 people would have died for
the line.
one incident or one accident. So yeah, so that's why people are quite afraid. But it's a really good source of generating the energy at low cost and efficient way. But unless we have a proper, mistake proofing available, and everybody is ensured that okay, there is no such thing happen in future, but you never say never to anything, right?
So how
that's
what is actually, yeah. And sorry, Dr. Rania, I just asked a short question because these are some questions might be the audience might want to know small things, but they need better understanding, right? So can you please give us share with us some example of clean energy and
yeah. So like, solar panel, right? So especially in UK and Western Europe, is quite popular nowadays. You can install the solar panel at your home's roof, and that's the clean energy. The one-time installation cost is quite high, but over the period of time, the operational cost goes down, and maybe in 5 to 6 years time, you reach the break even. And after that, energy is free for you because it's coming from sun, the god sun. But unfortunately, especially in UK, the sunlight is a luxury. We don't get a lot of sunlight. We get most of the time cold weather, cloudy, windy, and but the countries like, Africa, Middle East, or the India or the Southeast Asia,
yeah,
yeah,
we
Malaysia,
using solar energy. The industry is picking
and
up.
you have sun in your flag, yeah. So
Okay.
so also the hydropower plants are also a very good source of energy, especially in the countries like United Kingdom, which is an island country surrounded by Atlantic oceans. They have a lot of, new initiative has been taken by the UK government, and a lot of new startup. They are trying to convert the ocean wave energy into electrical energy, right? With a lot of new devices they are placing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've been reading about this quite often. Yes, it's another. So, what are the challenges of this sort of this manner of generating energy, solar,
Yeah.
wave?
So solar. So challenges is, like, the entry to barrier, right? So let's say myself as a consumer of the energy in London, based in United Kingdom, if I want to get the install the solar energy, I need to have a upfront investment of, let's say, £12,000. But do I have that kind of capital? So that's an entry to barrier. So unless the government, like the regulatory body Ofgem where I work, right, they provide the initial funding to the consumer. Hey, what about, let's say, 50% money or the cost of entry to barrier we will pay, and 50% you pay from your pocket and get the energy or the solar panel installed on your home roof, right? So if that kind of support, which is being provided in some form or shape, not to everyone but up to some extent, and also the funding for these kind of initiative to be given by the big banks like Citibanks, corporate finances. They provide funding for houses, property, but they should also provide the funding for people to install the solar roof, right, or the solar panels.
Yes, exactly. Then another thing, like the rest, you got to spend money, but the sunlight is free. But again, depends on the
The sun is free,
yes.
wind is free. Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Rania, you may continue. Dr. Anju, you have any question?
No questions from my side.
Okay, then Dr. Rania,
Oh,
you have anything?
Yes. Dr. Praveena talked about the cooking solutions. What do you think of this? What are the benefits of this? You talk about how we can help with cooking solutions.
So, the benefit of using the renewable sources of energy, they are renewable. So you can renew them and they do not leave any adverse impact or the bad impact on the environment or the ecological system in which they operate, right? So like solar energy, it's just you need wind turbine and some kind of, alternator, right, at your farm, and you can convert the wind energy into electrical mechanical energy, which you can consume at home to run your microwave, oven, OTG, charge your smartphone, run your laptop. So they are renewable. You are not leaving any damage to the environment, right? And that's why we call it renewable, right? So it continue theoretically it can run, a windmill can run for infinite time, but there are natural tear and wear happens. So obviously they don't run for infinite time. There is a maintenance cost required, and
Yeah.
also the transmission, right? So you can generate a lot of renewable energy, but you need to have a storage uh, devices and the capacity as well, right? Because as soon as we generate energy, we don't consume necessarily at that point of time, right? And so we need to increase the habit or the behavior of consuming the renewable energy, like I've mentioned, right? In UK, we have an option. I think in Germany also we have an option, right? Or in United States also we have an option. If we want our energy supplier to provide us the energy which is coming from the renewable sources or non-fossil fuel based sources, we need to pay extra 20 to 25% cost on monthly basis on the bill. So if people are ready to pay that money, you're directly contributing to the good cause.
If you, it's, since you see, it's a clean energy, and yeah, it's not going to contaminate. We're not going to pollute the air and all that. So people definitely is going to favor it. But the problem is, like what you mentioned, the initial investment in getting solar panel fixed and all that, right? So technology maintenance, this is the problem. But again, let's see, it's up to the individual. But if we all move to clean energy, I think we will enjoy better health and better life. Yeah. So, anything else you want to share?
No, I'm good.
Yes, actually. Now to ask how we can actually countries can ensure this transition to sustainable energy systems, especially when we are dependent on fossil fuel industries, especially these communities who are dependent, how this transition can be made smoothly.
So remember, I've shown you one slide. The biggest driver to move on this, non-fossil fuel based of energy sources or the renewable sources of energy, except the nuclear energy, what it is required is strong political will, like the commitment from the leaders, like prime minister, president of the countries. If they really want to move it, they can drive the changes. But if they just give the lip services, like what they did in 2015 on the United Nations Charter, everybody was agreed. Okay, we want to do. So these are all the nice thing. Nobody will say like to the nice thing. They did not say no, but they did not implement anything, because implementing the plan to move away from the fossil fuel based sources of energy, it costs a lot to the country. Like if hypothetically, this is based on my calculation, if United Kingdom all of a sudden decide that tomorrow they don't want to use anything fossil fuel based of energy except the transportation, like you can't, maybe the electric car can replace in future the transportation as well, we immediately need $400 billion, right, to get the UK equipped to supply entire United Kingdom population with the renewable sources of energy. And that's a hell lot of money, and we cannot borrow on the country's credit card, and which needed to be paid by the future generation, right? So we don't want our kids to grow with a lot of liability and debt on their head in the name of that we are providing you clean climate. So that's the cost. And no government, let's say in UK we have a government called Conservative Party,
Yes.
headed by Rishi Sunak. So his government is ready to take that credit, $400 billion credit, or some huge amount of billions of dollar credit right now based on the country's credit card.
It's depend on
No,
the people, because I see he's doing very well in the health sector, because I
Yeah.
was watching one of his reels. He was telling how much, he has improved the health sector. So I think he has, the people has to support his decisions, if the people support, I think he can, he's doing well so far, right? Yeah, I'm very
absolutely.
impressed.
And one
Actually,
more
I want to
strong
say-
point, which, yeah, sorry,
Yes,
sorry, go ahead, Rani.
In Europe, we have the Green Deal. I guess you know the Green Deal is
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
very
Green Deal.
ambitious. It has many policies. I have read all these policies, but the progress is very disappointing. Nobody believes that this will happen. So it's very ambitious plan, European plan. Europe, the vision, Europe towards zero net emissions. This is the vision.
Net zero.
Numerous policies and agreements and circularies, but we should be realistic that this is very difficult to be achieved until 2030.
Yes.
The progress is very, very slow. This, if we talk about Europe, unfortunately.
And there is a counter theory as well, Rania. I'm not sure if you know that if you browse the magazines of 1970s and 80s, Time magazine, and all the big articles which were published by the Oxford top research institute in Western world, they all used to say that we are moving towards ice age. The world is getting more cold. And now all of a sudden, in 30 years back, they came up and they said, no, sorry, we were wrong. The world is moving for the global warming. And so, and if human progress need to flourish, they need to burn the fossil fuel, they need to frack, they need to drill, take out the fossil fuel. This is how human race has progressed in last 200 years, right? If you remove the fossil fuel based progress of 150 years or 100 years, we would be still primitive, right? So we have progressed a lot, and everybody on planet Earth, people die more because of the cold weather rather than the warm weather. You know that, and this is a famous research published by almost every university. So by burning fuel, we are making climate more livable, honestly. So this is the counter argument we have, and this is the proven fact as well. So I'm not saying that human activity is not producing carbon dioxide. It is producing, but is it impacting adversely in some form or shape? Yes. But is it creating some positive impact as well, like progress? The way human race has progressed in last 150 years, thanks to the invention of the diesel engine and petrol engines and consumption of the fossil fuels in the form of energy, we have progressed a lot. Like we have never progressed in last 10,000 years, how much we have progressed in last 150 years. And thanks to the fossil fuel.
Wow. Really, we are having a very good hot topic today, and a lot of answers from Mr. Praveen, and it's very exciting. So are we, Rania, is that all? Is there any
Yes.
maybe one last question?
Okay, one last question about partnerships. What are some good examples of best practices of successful partnerships and collaborations? That would be between governments, that would be business and civil society organizations in order to advance SDG 7.
Absolutely. So I would like to give a very good example of partnership. So we as a department, I work for Ofgem. It's a UK government department, which provides lots of funding for the research and innovation across the world, specifically in the UK and Western Europe, and in United States as well. If you are working, if any small organization or the medium-sized organization working on creating technology or investing in fine-tuning the existing technology to enhance the energy efficiency of whether it's generating the energy or transmitting the energy or consuming the energy. So they do a lot of grants, a lot of funding. I think if I do remember correctly, they've recently funded to a company called National Grid, I think close to 5 million just to implement artificial intelligence based technology to manage their grids, right? The energy grid assets smartly using data analytics and AI, right? So it's not only Ofgem, there are so many other organizations. I think Microsoft is also came up with £100 million funding, right? I think last year, if I'm not wrong, for the technology partners, innovators who are investing in clean and renewable sources of energy. So it's not like that people are not working. A lot of things are going on. But unfortunately, the cost of renewable energy, unless it is come down, or at least it should be equal to the fossil fuel based of energy, it is a very daunting challenge for us to overcome.
Yes. Okay, I think we better let Mr. Praveen go. And Ramesh is calling us already for the meeting. And Mr. Praveen, amazing session today. Really, we had a very insightful information from you. And it's really interesting. Hope we could go on another session again. And thank you so much. Let's close. Back to you, Rania. Can you please close the meeting?
Yes.
Forum?
Thank you, Dr. Praveen Tomar, Dr. Anjum Qureshi, and Dr. Estera for this wonderful session. It's my honor to give the closing remarks to the forum Real Talk with Experts. What a joy to organize this forum online and to be able to welcome experts and dignitaries in the field of education, which is a good sign to collaborate together in order to enhance the education system globally. I would strongly emphasize that the slogan Quality Education for All accomplished the mission and vision of Elegant Higher Education. Thank you, Dr. Praveen Tomar from UK for highlighting important aspect of SDG 7. SDG 7 plays a critical role in advancing sustainable development by ensuring access to clean, reliable energy for all, and while promoting economic growth, environmental sustainability, and social equity. We talked about how it is important to promote universal access to energy, where everyone has access to affordable and modern energy services by 2030. And this includes access to electricity and clean cooking facilities, as you said. We talked about renewable energy, how to promote the use of renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. This is a critical aspect of SDG 7. The goal is to increase the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. And we talked, of course, about energy efficiency, because enhancing energy efficiency across all sectors, including industry, transportation, and buildings, is vital for achieving sustainable energy use. And this, of course, involves adopting technologies, innovations, practices that reduce energy consumption, while at the same time maintaining or improving productivity. You mentioned some best examples also about partnerships and collaboration, because achieving SDG 7 requires collaboration between governments and businesses and other stakeholders at the local, national, and international levels, because partnerships are essential for mobilizing resources and sharing knowledge and implementing effective policies and projects. And before putting this forum into a close, let us give a good applause to Dr. Anjum Qureshi and Dr. Esther Mala for hosting and moderating this forum, Real Talk with Experts. Thank you, our dear panelists, Dr. Praveen Tomar from UK, for your very informative talk and the detailed insights you offer to every one of us while discussing issues on SDG 7. Heartfelt gratitude I would address to the brilliant audience, to the teachers and parents and students who made it here with us today out of your busy schedules. We will meet again next week with another important topic on sustainable development goals. So before I let you go, let us give a big thank you to Ambassador Professor Esther Mala, the visionary founder, the brain and the heart of Elegant Higher Education, as the project director. See you soon. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Rania.
Esther.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.